On April 16, 1984, two students opposing Gaddafi were publicly hanged at the university in Tripoli. In response, the Libyan National Salvation Front planned a protest outside the Libyan embassy in St. James Square, London. The Libyans here at the embassy didn't view it so much as a diplomatic mission, but as a revolutionary coordinating center with various ties to separatist and terrorist groups all across Europe. When the news of this protest reached Gaddafi, Oleg Gordievsky, a British spy within the KGB, claimed that it was in the form of a question from the revolutionaries there. They were asking what to do with these protesters. They asked for guidance, and according to Oleg, Gaddafi personally ordered the shooting of protesters. After this, the NSA intercepted similar messages from Gaddafi and gave it to MI5 and GCHQ, and both of these organizations proceeded to sit on it and do nothing. So I view them as partly responsible for Yvonne Fletcher's death, knowing an act of violence would follow. Tense moments between the UK and Gaddafi's Libya would follow very soon after. Not long before the attack, British authorities were basically threatened by the Libyan government, who said that if the police allowed a protest, they wouldn't be responsible for any violence that might result. Noteworthy, it might have been a miscommunication. After this was said, the Libyans said they meant no direct threat to the British people. And so about 30 constables arrived at this protest, setting up barricades while members of the dissident group put on masks to disguise their faces so their families wouldn't be persecuted back in Libya. Meanwhile, a pro-Gaddafi group would protest in front of the Libyan embassy, and basically these groups were yelling at each other while the dissidents were yelling at the embassy. Pretty soon after the police arrived, a member of the embassy walked up to inform them that there would be violence, and there were guns inside the building. They warned the police to leave, but the police chose not to leave, knowing full well that a battle might result. At precisely 10:18 a.m., gunfire erupted from two windows in the embassy. Yvonne Fletcher was shot and died later in the day, after telling people to calm down. As news spread to Libya, 60 members of the Revolutionary Guard Corps surrounded the British embassy, and London knew they would have to send the diplomats back without making any arrests, or else risk their own staff dying. In the meantime, police laid siege to the embassy in St. James Square, not returning any fire, but viewing this building as a harbor for the terrorists who had shot and killed Yvonne Fletcher. This siege lasted from the 18th until the 27th, before the embassy staff were allowed back to Libya, so none were put to trial. 15 years later, Muammar Gaddafi actually apologized for the killing and offered compensation to the Fletcher family, but never named the killer. In 2011, it was revealed that Abdulmajid Ameri was one of the prime suspects, a junior diplomat seen firing a gun from the building by a crowd of Libyans that were protesting in favor of Gaddafi after the police had put out basically a request for information from the pro-Gaddafi crowd. It's unknown if he's even still alive in Libya after the civil war there. And because only one man was directly named by this police request for information, many other members of the embassy staff have been named, some of which actually died during the Libyan civil war. And we don't know if Ameri actually fired the shots or if it was someone who looked similar to him, and very few answers have been forthcoming. It's a total mystery who killed Yvonne Fletcher, and apparently her partner and her colleagues are still looking for answers, but it seems the British government prefers to let sleeping dogs lie.